Hi guys, it's me Tilly, and today it's finally time for our 7th day of the beginner's diary. So first off, I want to apologize for this episode taking like almost forever to be uploaded. Reason for it being is there's actually some things that I wanted to be sure of that I know before doing this video. So the episode will kind of be a spoiler on what's going to happen later on in the series, and it's also gonna kind of tell you what we've done so far. But first things, before I get into all of this, I want to very briefly. Why can I not pronounce briefly? Holy. But before we get into this, I really want to briefly tell you what it is that I did on my 7th day. Basically, I got my first drop on the 7th day, and it was not the most expensive one. It was kind of exciting because it was a mysterious shard from the Royal Army raid, and I thought it to be more expensive, but turns out the price is tanked since I last checked the price on EU, and it was only like 4 million, 3.5, 4 million, somewhere in between. It's decent, right? It's way better than anything I got so far, and it boosted me up to 30 million. So that's like another milestone that I can give you. After an entire week, 7 days of daily play, yeah. Fair to say I played a lot during each and every of these days, but I managed to get 30 million in a week, which I think is actually pretty decent and way more than I thought. Other things that I should note is I did do my first Baylor runs, which I can actually show you right here, because again, spoiler alert for later on in the series, we will kind of need these stats to unlock Nile, which, as you might remember, is our final goal for the series. But yeah, with that being said, let me jump into my, what I like to call a roadmap for new players that you should be aware of, that you can kind of follow to progress through the game. I'm gonna have it divided in 3 different steps: early, mid, and late game. So basically, the early game is everything that you do until you unlock your free accessories from the Strange Traveler quest. To get there, to finish this milestone, you will have to progress in the story as far as completing the Donegal region, killing Dullahan 3 times, and also killing Aeside in the story, which will give you the Enlightened title, which in return makes it so you can exchange the boss essences for accessories at the Strange Traveler. Along your way, you will also get the Dullahan armor to plus 13. But before you didn't finish this milestone, you are still in what I consider the early game, the build-up phase. The phase where you still do get a lot of value by just doing your story, and you should not have like a super hard focus on it, right? If you know you'll be playing for, I don't know, like let's say 6 hours per day, you don't need to hardcore grind the story for 6 hours, right? You could still do your dailies first. And that's something else that I want to talk about. Along your way in the early game, you want to make sure to maximize your Seal of Bravery gain. So whenever possible, you want to do Royal Army raids, Abyssal Arenas. Those two are huge for you, because to get out of this early game, you will need around 300 Seals of Bravery. Buy all of the essences from the Seals of Bravery shop. And if you followed my series so far, you might also want to upgrade your Dullahan weapon to plus 13. And for that you need another 95 Seals of Bravery, which in return means you'll need around 400 Seals of Bravery, and that is a fair amount. Like, you will need a few days to get there. Finishing off the early game, there are some more daily activities than the Abyssal Arena and Royal Army raids that I want you to do, and it's something that I underestimated like crazy. Do your Request by Sea. Kill Muir 6 times a day, right? This guy right here. Once you unlock him, make sure that you will never waste a single departure on him, because he's like the single best way for you to get the materials that you need later on in accessory enhancements, in synthesizing your steerer weapon, and so on and so forth. Like, I told you already how you should not spend money on the materials yourself and you should grind them yourself. Even I had to spend money on the materials because I didn't do Muir enough. I cannot stress how important he is to do. That's also a reason why the current event is actually really good. But again, for this series, I'm not gonna bother about explaining any events to you. Going from Muir, you can obviously do level 95 raids whenever you feel like it, right? Whenever you have like a friend to group up with, whenever you see boats open, you can just join them, right? Because in the end, they are still a decent source of money. Even if you don't get a lot of valuable drops, just the completion gold, together with... Maybe you get as lucky as I got. I got like 3 pages for my Eternal Legacy, or for my Book of Legacy, which is pretty decent. And some money can be made, like almost regardless of how lucky you are. Alright, let's talk about the second phase, the mid-game, as I like to call it. Once you got your free accessories from the story, once you got your Dullahan armor to 13, and I would also recommend you to get the Dullahan weapon to plus 13 using the 95 Seals of Bravery that I told you in my earlier video to get this rune right here. Because your Dullahan weapon will stick with you for longer than I expected it to. So it's not a bad idea to invest a bit more into it. You should have all of the materials that you need from doing the story and doing Dullahan a few times. The only thing you might be missing is like the chunks, maybe the weapon essence, but trust me, in the end, I think it was really worth it and also fun to do it, yeah. In the mid-game, your priorities slightly shift. Since I told you that the early game consists of doing Royals and Abyssal Arena to grind these Seals of Bravery that you need, those two become just a tiny bit less important. The Abyssal Arena only really becomes a thing for you if you really need a lot of AP to get your skills up, to get your stuff restored. And the Royal Army raid, it should still be done daily. I think it's still the better content out of these two, but it's not as important anymore. You don't need to spend all of your guild departures on Royals anymore once you are in the mid-game. But your two goals for the mid-game is A, get a level 100 accessory, and by level 100 accessory I'm talking about either belt or earrings, since these are the two that boost your counterforce the most, and get your hands on an Astera weapon. There's one thing that I need to tell you that I think I did a bad job so far of telling you guys. When most people ask me like what their first step should be in the end game or later stages of the game, I tell them get an Astera weapon, upgrade to plus 15. So people usually spend their first 15 million to get an Astera weapon that is clean. And by clean I mean no enchants, no enhancement, not synthesized. And I would highly advise you to not do that. Your Astera weapon is not even that important early on compared to the counterforce that you need. And that just goes back to something that I tried to tell you earlier, right? If you check these requirements right here, as a new player, you will mostly struggle with the counterforce. Getting your Dullahan to 13, you will get the power and there are ways for you to getting the tech, right? But counterforce is probably more important for you. And on top of it, just a clean Astera weapon doesn't do anything for you. So that should be your priority as well. Get counterforce, and then think about getting an Astera weapon. There are some things I need to talk about right here. As of right now, there's this one event running where you get this specific epaulet, where you get a lot of counterforce. And yes, this epaulet, in theory, makes you skip the process of getting a level 100 accessory. And it's the first time where I need to talk about events. If there is an event going on that helps you to skip this process, feel free to skip it for now, right? Just know that these stats might be temporary, right? For example, this Apolay right here will last for another 3 weeks. Let's pretend it was only going on for like another week and I was a new character. This one would allow me to do higher rates right now, but in a week it would be gone. So I would already start working on Counterforce anyways. Even though I have enough right now, I know like in a week I won't. So definitely be thoughtful with all of the resources that the game is giving you. Okay, so as a spoiler for like the future episodes, I'm gonna show you my gear real fast. I got the level 100 belt because, as I said, belt and earrings have a way better Counterforce conversion if you upgrade the 3 to the level 100 version. I got my rings to 19 and 17. That puts me at around 133 Counterforce. And that's already pretty huge because it allows me to do basically all of Astera. I'm only missing Season 4 raids right now by getting a 1 level 100 accessory and upgrading the rings. Don't bother about the earring. Don't touch it. Leave it. Literally leave it until you upgrade it to like a level 100 one. But only by upgrading my level 100 belt and the rings, I was able to get to Season 4. And actually, if I were to upgrade this ring 2 times, or this ring 1 time and this belt 1 time, I would get the Counterforce requirements for Nile already. But again, for a future video. And I got my hands also on a plus 12 Astera weapon. This is basically what you are looking for if you are still in the mid game. You want 1 level 100 accessory and you want to get your hands on the Astera weapon. Your daily activities, or your activities to get you there, should look the following. Royal Army raid is still really good for you. You should start doing your redeemers, as I told you earlier, because there is such amount of free stats to be gotten, to be obtained here. That is really crazy, and it will help you unlock higher raids. And that's basically your next goal. Once you got the free accessory, you can start doing Astera raids, Claire and Alculus. And then you want to upgrade one of your rings to do Maka. And from there you want to keep upgrading your rings to do Agares. And from there you want to... I think Lu was the first one that I needed the new belt for. You want to get the new belt. And then you want to keep upgrading it. And then you want to upgrade to an Astera weapon somewhere in between here, I think. Lu and Serene as well. Right? And just do as many raids as possible. While always doing Muir, Roquest by Sea. I cannot stress enough how important it is. And once you get your hands on more stats, also do your Bathed in Red dungeon. It's similar to Muir, to Roquest by Sea, where it has like guaranteed value, right? You get a lot of money by selling the materials that you drop. Mainly the New Era cloth and New Era leather. But yeah, that's basically already it for the mid game. Let's talk about the end game. Or it's probably like the early end game, because it's what I call the end game for our series. Obviously beyond that there's the real end game where you just grind for as high stats as possible. But the end game for you looks something like what I'm at right now, where you already got your hands on a level 100 accessory and you already got your hands on an Astera weapon. And from there on, you are basically only chasing your stats. I can show it right now. You're basically chasing the end goal for the series. You want to get 55.1k power, 246 tech, and 138 counterforce. These stats right here is basically your milestone to finish the late game. Once you completed this, you will be in the true end game, where it's only about min-maxing and getting the most out of your damage, right? To get there, it's kind of the same like in the mid game, where you want to do as many raids as possible. You want to start doing way more redeemers, because they are actually really, really helpful. But before I go into like super much detail about it again, I will just forward you to my next few videos that will be coming out sooner than this one compared to the last one. But yeah, With that being said, I really hope you enjoyed today's episode, guys. I am, again, sorry for it taking so long. I really do appreciate you waiting as patiently as you did. And I hope you'll have a great day, and I see you on my next one. Bye!